they started to not be able to, and they were barred from it. But devotees would still go in the malls, go from one, avoid the security people as best they could. A few minutes or an hour, for some devotees could stay hours, but eventually they'd be kicked out of the mall. Mall security would always be on the lookout for them, and it became in the malls, although some was generally
Рассказывают о ранних годах распространения книг в Америке.
Towns or cities would be like a half a mile in shopping centers, and devotees would get kicked out of one parking lot or mall, one, or the Sankirtan leader would drive them to a shopping center 2 miles away. It kept the Sankirtan leaders pretty busy picking up and dropping off. Very determined, and they would just keep going. They got getting kicked out of a shopping center was, I got popped. O-P-P-E-D.
Yes.
I got popped. That means I got kicked out. So they would just, okay, I got kicked out of it. I go to the next one. Devotees are very determined people. If you want to be successful at something, you have to be determined. But definitely in Krishna life, devotees are very determined, because goal to aspire to please Krishna, back home, back to Godhead, to please our spiritual master. So devotees are very stubborn, and that's a good thing. It can be misused. We're too stubborn, and we insist on having our own way, or in our what we think is the right way to do things, and being stubborn can be not so good. Can be, but devotees have to be stubborn, do our service no matter what it is. Let's see. The Constitution, this was after the court decision, the same barred the devotees for property. Devotees filed a lawsuit against the city-owned airport injunction on the basis that the airport was denying them their right to free speech. This ruling promised to open a new era in book distribution, possibilities of legalizing in all major airports. This as proof that Krishna was working with Prabhupada to increase book distribution. No previous master had ever distributed Vedic literature at a scale. And that Srila Prabhupada, Krishna's empowered representative, the devotees' effort, but only if they were willing to go through the trials distributed in the airport, it's very high intense, and devotee, you have to be really kind of smooth, and you have to be very determined, because it's not like in the parking lots or in the mall where people, they're just there shopping, and they're in a hurry as usual. Life, everyone's in a hurry to get sense. In the airports, it's really in a hurry. Everyone's in anxiety, plane or whatever. They're, to foreign place. So the intensity is distribution, but there are quite a lot of devotees who are very good at it, and really do it. But there were devotees who were very good at it. This is from Pragosh, one of the all-time. I went out one day to the airport, and I walked up to a man and said, "Excuse me, sir." And bam, he punched me right in the face and knocked me down. At that moment, so many thoughts went through. I could just hear triple ringing in my ears. Morning, we must be. I just said to him, "I'll just stand right back up." I stood up to just turn around. I had to hand the next person one of Prabhupada's books. I determined to just stand up and keep going after you get. And he was. My wife approached me, but the husband didn't want anything to do with me. It was spiritual. She stopped and said, "What's his book about?" And I said very bluntly, "This book explains birth and what's beyond." She said to her husband and said, "Please buy it." But he said, "I don't want it. Come on, let's go." And he walked up with me and said, "Tell me a little more about this book. And where are you coming from?" She said. Then she revealed to me that she was coming from the man and that she had terminal cancer and was going to die. She said, "I desperately want to read this book." She gave me $10 and said, "Thank you." And she took the book and ran off. Found me and shook my hand and thanked me. These kind of experiences that devotees would have out gave us the feeling of being like emissaries, something very special. By this, we became more Prabhupada and to executing his work. We would see these miracles take place. Die, whether you die in a week or whether you're in perfect health by material standards and you think you're looking forward to 50 or 60 more good years. 60 years is you're going to die. Everyone's going to die. Of that, and she wanted the book, and she was very grateful for it. Her husband didn't want to have anything to do with it, but that's not unusual. Spiritual in Krishna, that one husband, one wife, the partner doesn't, or a mother likes it, but the children don't, or the children like it, but the parents. So what can we do? Everyone has life to live, where everyone is ultimately ability to our family, but our ultimate responsibility is to Krishna. Of course, attached feelings for my mother and father, sister, but they weren't very fond of my. Stood in my way, and they always maintained their love and affection for me and assistance for me. So, yeah, so you do the best you can with whatever situation you're in. Um, I know Satsvarup Maharaj's father and mother and sister, and he came from a nice Catholic family on long, relatively peaceful family life. When he became to Prabhupada, they said, stay with that Swami, anything. Naturally, he was, and he went back to Prabhupada and he told them what happened, and Prabhupada was consoling him, but he said, I'm your father, and so that's a fact. It's a transcendental spiritual fact of life here, and our affection here, but it's our ultimate duty is to Guru and Krishna, no matter what. And this is from Keshava Bharati, good books in the San Francisco airport, particularly difficult, and that if I could be in Los Angeles, probably just as Tripurari. Then don't have any problem stopping people or anything like that. But half an hour and then an hour went by, and Tripurari had distributed 5 and then 10 books. But I couldn't get anybody to stop and shake my hand even. It was incredible. But I knew it was because I was too proud. Another hour, and still no one would stop and shake my hand. Because I wanted to pass out Prabhupada's books. Finally, I was nearly crying. Tripurari came up and preached to me. He told me, Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, not to worry, that this happens. So I got it together, and then about 10 to 15 people in a row came by and talked with me, took books. So when we discussed it afterward, instruments in Lord Chaitanya's hands. Philosophy. Through the book distribution, we came to realize who Prabhupada was and to appreciate him even more. This is from Lavanga Latika. All years, and thousands of people with books and distribute hundreds and hundreds. Used to take lines from Prabhupada's books. Tripurari used to talk about the swans taking milk from water. So we used to use that to someone. Great sages used to know milk from water. The pictures were windows. We'd say, this sun that will of ignorance in this age of taking quotes directly from Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's definitely true that the very insistent on the paintings. We have paintings here in the temple, and the temple, young boy, young man. I saw the pictures, and when I devotee described them as windows to the spiritual, and you could see these paintings are, and they're windows directly to the spiritual world. I found the best way to distribute the books to use Prabhupada's own words. Prabhupada said if we read one line to someone, that person can make 100 times. One time a devotee complained to Prabhupada that people were throwing some of the books away. But then we could understand that Prabhupada wanted them distributed on a large scale. Not that you kept the book for a special person you thought might be entitled to read it, because Prabhupada said that if they read, they would be very much affected. So if we could, so Prabhupada wanted mass distribution, not that we for the special right person. It's definitely like that when you go out to distribute books. Some people you can tell are just nasty demons, and you don't want to read a book. I mean, it's pretty obvious. They can be very obvious. Somebody punches you in the face, and you don't stand up and give them a book. But generally, you can't tell. Take a book, read a book. Many people, everyone's in anxiety. Everyone, so many things in their mind. You have to give them a chance. Just become selective. Like, I don't think that person will like that book, or I don't think that person is and looks like a dummy, and they won't be able to understand. If you become, you don't know where someone's at, or someone, you don't know. So the best thing is to take the risk and distribute the book. And even if they don't read it, they can bring it home and somebody else will read it, or they'll leave it on the subway and for somebody in our conversation, somebody away and he picked it up. I'm a devotee. Or Hari Ashva, like this one. Hari Ashva is a long time Philadelphia out there. Real good devotee. He was at a amusement park with some friends when he was a young man, and they went up the roller coaster, and at the top of the roller coaster, just before it starts to go down, there was a ledge beside a cart, the roller coaster, and there was a Back to Godhead magazine, and he reached over and took the Back to Godhead magazine. He's a great and that was his first book. So even if you don't, well, not everyone's a demon who you don't give a book. They seem nice or whatever, but they take a book, and somehow or somebody gets the book. Prabhupada said, you don't know where these are going, but Krishna knows where they're going. So you take a chance. You have to take a chance because it's Kali Yuga. Everybody's messed up. Everybody's a fallen soul. Everyone's in anxiety. So you have to be very when going out to preach. Another big book, and Vaisheshik, of course, he still distributes books to this day. He's the head of the temple, as disciples of his own, great devotee. He was selling books in the airport with me. He would walk up to people and say, "Well, how are you doing, sir? All glories to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan movement, the prime benediction for you, which cleanses the heart." He was repeating the Shikshastra Chaitanya right out of the book, and yet he was selling books. He had pictures of Krishna and devotional scenes on the cover, and sometimes some devotees couldn't understand how people could relate to these books. But Prabhupada wanted them distributed, and he was saying that we should preach on the meaning of the book. When a devotee asked what we should say to distribute the books, Prabhupada replied, "Namo Bhagavate," which is the verse. Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun, and it has people religion of darkness. So we were also and distribute. We would go out and see them becoming struck by Krishna consciousness. They would see that the devotees were very sincere, serious, and they would become impressed. Daily, people appreciating Prabhupada's books. There was also Prabhupada had talked about it, and there was also difficulty. It was there from Prabhupada to confirm whatever realizations we had. Srila Prabhupada said a book would sometimes have difficulty because he accepted, rejected, but he tolerates. In the airport, we met professors, lawyers, all kinds of people and talk. They would challenge, constantly have to defend us and his movement and half of Prabhupada. Just kids talking to women and for a pack of it, presenting contact with Mayavadis, scientists. In Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, and San Diego, there were very sharp and hard, and just spiritually combat and defend the movement. We began to understand and how to present that we could convince who didn't want to be convinced. We had Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam. Chapter 3, verse number 13. Okay, this is verse 13. Viditos sakshat purushak prakriti paraha kevala nanananda sarupa sarvabudhidrik sudeva vacha viditos eva prakriti paraha Kevala Nubhavananda Sarupa Buddhidrik Shita Vidita Purushat Kakate Paravananda Sarupa Buddhidrik Shri Vasudeva Vacha Shri Vasudeva said, pray. Vidita Asi. Now I am fully conscious of you, Bhavan, your lordship, Sat, directly, Purusha, supreme person, Prakriti, to material nature, Paraha, beyond everything material, Kevala Anubhava Ananda, Swarupa, your form is Sat Ananda Vigraha, and whoever perceives utterly blissful, Buddhi, the supreme observer, the super soul, Vasudeva, you are the supreme person beyond material existence, and you are the super soul. Your form can be perceived by which you can be understood as the supreme. I now understand your position perfectly. Vasudeva said, my Lord, you are the supreme beyond material existence, super soul. Your form can be perceived by transcendental knowledge. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I now understand the position perfectly. From heart, affection for his son and knowledge of the Supreme. In the beginning, Vasudeva thought, such a beautiful been born, but now Kamsa will come and kill him. But when he understood that this is an ordinary child, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he became fearless, regarding his son as the Supreme Lord, wonderful in everything. He began offering prayers appropriate for the Supreme Lord. Completely free of Kamsa's atrocities, he accepted the child simultaneously of affection and as the object of worship by prayer. Om again Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Tanyena Tasmai Shri Maha. Everybody's very joyful when I haven't had a baby, father of a baby in this life, but in our past lives or in this life, from others, you feel happy when the baby is born, but then right away